possible unless you are speaking. That just helps with the bandwidth and making sure we can all get on the call. And today's session will be recorded, so if there's any colleagues that you know might want to join and are unable to, please go to the improvement page on the intranet and you'll be able to find a recording of the session. Can we move on to the agenda, please, Carly? Thank you. So we've got a few updates to bring you today. We've got updates from the OSCE Preparation Day, hopefully an update on Office 365 rollout. We've got an update from John Court, who's our Chief Digital Officer. We've got an update from Stacey on bringing improvement ideas to life. We've got a bit about the Royal Academy newsletter, and then I'll just make you aware of improvement training sessions later on. So if we move on to our first item, I'd just like to welcome Kim, who's going to talk to us about OSCE preparation. Kim, you're on mute.
Oh, I did a really good speech then on mute. Good afternoon, my name's Kim Castelluccio. I am the Learning Placements Lead for Undergraduate Medicine here at Chesterfield. So basically that means that I oversee all the placements from both Sheffield and Nottingham medical schools with a team of other people as well. So I was going to present to you today how we've developed an OSCE preparation day. So sorry for those of you that do know, but for those of you that don't know, OSCE stands for Objective Structured Clinical Examination, and it's an exam that medical students undertake at the end of their 3rd year and 5th year of training. They undertake 5 years of training, and it's a way that they can be assessed on their ability to undertake clinical examinations or history taking, or their ability to communicate with patients before they can move on to the next stage in their training. So we have students here on placement from 3rd year onwards, and so we normally put on about 3 of these sessions a year, or we have done in the couple of years previous to COVID, and then we've managed to do one this year. So if I'll just move on to the next slide, I can tell you a bit of background as to why we do this. Thank you. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that the students that have been on placement with us are prepared for their OSCE examinations. We don't want them to come on placement and then go on to an exam and not be prepared for it. So it's a way of us checking that they're ready. We can give them feedback, and we can make it so that their revision is more directed towards the areas where they might make a bit of improvement. Another reason is the way that we can also quality assure our placement teaching. Obviously, there are different ways that we do that. Some is peer observation, some is in written feedback, but also the way that the students perform is another way that we can assess that teaching on placement, and we can see that our students are picking up all the right habits. One of the other reasons we do it is it's an opportunity to give some of our junior doctors and our ACPs some teaching and assessing experience. So for their own foundation years and as part of their programmes, they have to fulfil a certain amount of teaching and assessing as well, both to peers and to junior staff as well. So we're able to give them an opportunity to do that, and we give feedback and we complete any forms and things that they might need. One of my main reasons for doing this, I mean, first and foremost, is to make sure the students are prepared, but another reason is we want to enhance the quality of our placement. So we have a really good reputation here at Chesterfield, especially with the Sheffield cohort of students who we've had a long-term relationship with, for providing a good quality placement. So, you know, we have to deliver lots of things that we know the students need, and that's fine. But we also need to give a little bit of what the students want on placement, and a lot of what they want is to get practice in time for their exams. Obviously, we want them to be good doctors and be prepared to see patients in the future, but they want to get this practice in for exams, and so that leads to better feedback at the end of the placement, because they've enjoyed their placement overall, they've had good quality teaching, and then they've had the opportunity to practice what it is they're aiming towards. We'd like to think as well that this contributes to the recruitment and retention of our future medical workforce, because as it stands at the moment, the vast majority of our medical students come from Sheffield Medical School. But how the deaneries work when they apply for jobs is they apply within the Yorkshire and Humber, and we don't sit within the Yorkshire and Humber region, we sit within the Trent and East Midlands, which means that sometimes for the Sheffield students, if they want to come and work at Chesterfield, it means they have to take the risk that they could be placed elsewhere within the East Midlands region. Not that it's a risk in terms of bad areas, but they're areas that they don't know and haven't trained in. But we know that some students do take that chance because they like Chesterfield so much. And it's also one of the reasons why we're expanding with our Nottingham medical school placements, because most of our foundation doctors come from Nottingham Medical School. So we're actually increasing the numbers now that come from Nottingham. And again, it is things like the OSCE Preparation Day that make them enjoy their placement, make them realise that they're well supported, and that it's somewhere they'd like to work in the future. Can we move on, please? Thank you. So how does it work? So we normally run 4 to 6 stations. So it's a circuit of short, like 10-minute stations, and it might be something like a cardiovascular examination, or they might take a history from a patient, or they might communicate something, say a patient needs some advice around medications or something around a diagnosis, or even delivering bad news. So each station is different. So sometimes they might need to examine somebody, sometimes they need to take history, or sometimes they need to give some teaching around medication, or to deliver some bad news. So 4 to 6 stations, and we use our service user partners. So some of you may not be aware that we run Patients as Educators group here at Chesterfield. So they're volunteers that come and help us deliver teaching, not only for medical students, but for anyone else that needs teaching. And we call them service user partners, or SUPs. So sometimes they are people that have undergone treatment in the NHS, and they want to be part of training our future workforce. Sometimes they're retired healthcare workers. Sometimes they're friends and family of people that work here. But we have quite a good cohort of service user partners now, and some of them have got clinical signs. So when the students are examining them, they actually get to hear or see something significant. So that can be really useful. But some of them are completely well and don't have any medical issues at all. But we still find things for them to get involved with. So they're completely volunteers. We give them their travel expenses, and we feed them. We treat them to a meal once a year when we can take them out. But we really couldn't do this without them. The other people are the senior and junior assessors. So majority of assessors are F1 or F2 doctors, or ACPs, and then we have some consultants, some from within my own team and some that are just involved in medical education, who come along and assess on those stations, but also give feedback to the junior assessors as well, because they're getting something out of it as well. Facilitators, so I'm very lucky to have lots of people that help out, both from the clinical and admin team, in setting this up, getting equipment ready, printing out all the mark sheets, getting all the instructions laminated, and making sure that our volunteers are all fed and watered on a regular basis. And then obviously we need rooms and equipment. Now the biggest problem that we have by far is finding somewhere to host this. So we were very lucky a few years ago that we had a ward, Staveley ward, that was set up, and we could do training down there. There were no patients on there. And we were able to run it on there on one occasion, and that was really, really good. because being in like a clinical environment made it feel a bit more real. But we have run it in the residence blocks, in bedrooms, and we've run it in the education centre. And then this year, and thank you very much to the team, but we've used the innovations room, which worked really well, and we're really grateful that people will give us that space in order to do it. In terms of equipment, it's fairly simple, so just things like couches, which we were able to borrow from the physio department and places like that. So we do rely on a lot of goodwill from people. And then we have marking sheets and the feedback. So the stations that we've got are written by our consultants or by anyone else that wants to write a station. We mix them up each time. And so, we rely on people to kind of help us create new stations and create the marking sheets. So instead of 10-minute stations for our roster preparation day, we do 13 minutes. So that allows for more feedback on the station, because that's the point of it, really, that the students are able to gain that really valuable feedback, because it's practicing. And then last and most importantly, we cater these events. So that's basically all it costs us. So we pay for catering. So we feed our volunteers, our junior and senior assessors, and our service user partners and our facilitators, because like I said, without them we wouldn't be able to do this. Okay, move on please. So these are just a few of the feedback comments that we've had from students. I could have put a million things there, but the biggest one that comes up most often anyway is the fact that they want more stations. We'd love to, but we just don't have the space or the facilitators for it. But they find it really beneficial. They always find it really useful. I don't think we've ever had a negative feedback comment at all. It's always been really, highly, fed back on by the students. Okay, and the next one. So these are just some photos from our most recent OSCE preparation day. Up in the left-hand corner there, you might recognise our patient educator there. That's Mr. Steve Holt, and he was one of our breast surgeons and retired a few years ago. Unfortunately, after his retirement, he suffered 2 cardiac arrests and was resuscitated by his family members. And he now has an internal defibrillator, which, for the students, that's really quite exciting to examine someone that's got actually something going on there, and a lot of them won't have ever met a patient or experienced feeling what a defibrillator feels like. And his is slightly different in that it's a subcutaneous one, so it's quite a large defibrillator on the left side of his body. But also we've got other patients as educators there, and they're some of our students and assessors. And like I said, this one was in the education room. In the innovation room, on the left bottom corner there, that's a virtual station. So what we were able to do, we run 3 face-to-face stations this year and a virtual station. And the reason the students not wearing their mask is because the patient educator or volunteer that we were using is hard of hearing, and so she relies on lip reading quite a bit. So we set that up in a separate room, and again we were able to do that in the office next to the innovations room, so that was really useful. Okay, so just on to the next slide. So just really, where do we go from here, would be the next thing. So what, the ideal world Christmas list type stuff would be to secure rooms for future OSCE preparation sessions, and that's because, as I said, we're going to have an increase in the students from Nottingham Medical School, and so we need to increase the delivery of these sessions. More cohorts of students coming through means we'll probably have to up that from currently about 3 a year to about 6 a year. But there is, if we were able to secure a more permanent area in which we could deliver these sessions, we could open that up a little bit. So we could increase the amount of interprofessional participation, because there are other groups of staff within the trust that might be examined in a similar way, or it could be a way to enhance some training or to check learning from certain training, and to make the stations more relevant to practice. So when we get feedback about things, like recently we've been asked about how much training some people might get on writing discharge letters or writing the TTOs for when patients are discharged. We could set up stations and make it more relevant to practice. So, you know, our junior doctors could do this as part of their induction period, or our final year students could be doing some of this, getting ready for their F1 year. And that's just that's just from the medics side as well. I'm sure there's lots of opportunity for nurses and AHPs, ACPs and PAs to be involved in this kind of thing. And we do try and open it up more and more year on year to to make it a bit more interprofessional. That's it from me. I'm sorry that I've talked an awful lot, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you, Kim, and apologies, my network keeps dropping me out, so if I disappear, Carly's ready to pick me up. But that was really interesting and part of the process of the hospital that I guess a lot of us would never know takes place.
Yeah.
And it looks like the students really enjoy it, and I'm sure the volunteers do too. Are there any questions for Kim? No. Thank you for sharing that, Kim.
I've talked them all into silence. Thank you
brilliant.
for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. You've had a round of applause I just saw there on the screen. Thank you very much.
I'm losing my voice a bit today, so I apologise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next item, which I believe is Chris, to talk about the Office 365 rollout.
It was going to be Chris, but a bit like last month, actually, we're a man down working on one of the bits that needs to be in this week. So he sends his apologies, but has asked me to convey the message that the deployment is going really well for Office 365. So currently, I think he said about 210 people already in the trust that have moved onto it successfully. So they're really hoping to ramp up the numbers right throughout November. So really, this is a last push for anyone who wants to be included now. So while it's still classed as the pilot stage, where we've got the support of Chris and his team, should we have any niggles or anything at all, now's the time. So the email address is there, or if you know of Chris, you can go to him direct. But yeah, flag up that you want to get involved, because it is coming. So if you're not part of the pilot, you're going to get it before Christmas anyway. So, but yeah, I think everybody in our office is on the 365 at the moment, and touch wood, everything's running smoothly. And when we've had a few concerns or things we weren't sure of, Chris's team have been great pointing things out and getting fixes in place. So yeah, so I think it's a great positive story for new technology coming. But yeah, there's the address.
Yeah, brilliant. And we'd encourage people to go first, because you do get that support if there's any niggles. Not that there's been many, and it's a really quick process as well, isn't it? You don't lose any of your settings or folders on your emails or anything like that. It all transfers over really nicely, and the updated Office suite offers you quite a few nice different ways of doing things that we haven't been able to do on the old Office suite. So it feels like we're a bit more closer to the 21st century digital offering by doing it. Yeah. Thank you for standing in for Chris. Okay, we'll hand over to John now, who's going to give us an update on all the amazing things John's been working on. Over to you, John.
Thanks very much. I've attempted to share my screen. Has that worked?
Yes, it has.
Yes.
Excellent. So there's just 3 slides from me. I'll keep it in this view because it's easier for me to control. And I've got a bit to add on 365. So I'm just going to talk about Chesterfield Royal Hospital infrastructure developments. So deliberately not talking about the applications and stuff that Kate and Gemma are doing, but more of the background stuff. And then the same for Joined Up Care Derbyshire, and the sneak preview slide of the shared care record and timelines. So the first point I'd like to explain is what is known as unified comms. What this means is that everybody gets a phone number on their cell phone or a trust cell phone, which turns it into a voice over internet phone. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning it here is that we will be very shortly, in a matter of hopefully 2 to 3 weeks, implementing this with paediatric consultants. This is to facilitate the digitally enabled healthcare Connect project, but also to improve their consultant Connect capability. I have a small number of licenses, and I have way more than I need for the consultant paediatricians. And I would be looking for whole teams, not just the odd individual, to embrace this technology, to see how well we can get it to work, particularly in any of the ologies where you think it might help advice and guidance. So my first point on these slides to the Academy is I'm all ears to listen to the huge number of projects you're doing and how you think that technology could help you in some way, shape or form, and please contact me direct so we can have a conversation. Slight replication here, Windows 10 365 rollouts. But the reason why I've kept this in is for everyone to appreciate the huge benefit of using SharePoint, which would help us all maintain our file architecture and structures without having to use the J drive. And again, this is more just of a gentle nudge in that direction, as clearly the J drive is old archive technology, and we should be considering making maximum use of the 365 suite we've got. So I'm not saying anyone should be doing anything different, but I would be very keen to support anyone who isn't on 365 in joining that journey, and it makes life just about seamless working from any possible desk, whether you be in the hospital or at home. I also bring good news on that front, which is the VDI, which has been difficult to be able to work with Windows 10, is now being upgraded very quickly. And crucially, some of the hardware speed has been improved to the point where we are expecting sites yet to be defined. Again, I was very happy to hear from colleagues on the call where they'd like to see this, where we should be able to demonstrate a proof of concept, tap in, tap on, tap off technology, as it's that fast. So we'd be in a situation which would definitely help our EPR access and other areas. Again, asking for directions of travel where you think we could do that as a proof of concept, please. The Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is out to tender. This is for a full replacement to Wi-Fi 6 standards. So that's bells and whistles. And this will include separate but completely functional Wi-Fi networks for staff to use within the terms and policies and procedures for the organisation, and also for patients. The timeline for that is not yet clear, but this has to be done certainly this financial year. And then the last slide here is a confession. The System 1 core viewer process that we've demoed, it's been trialled, it's been used by real world clinical users. We found quite a lot of errors, particularly in it not being just a read-only viewer, being able to record into the record. We don't think we've got the permission set properly. I'm sorry that this has been delayed as a result. I don't have a timeline on getting that fixed, but it's obviously something we appreciate that we have paid for and should be utilising properly. So I'm sorry that we haven't got that working to a wider number of people just yet. My next slide is of a wider view. So the Derbyshire Shared Code Record Proof of Concept is going live in mid-December. I'll show you a sneaky screenshot in a moment. This has been an interesting journey in terms of data permissions and getting vendors from different parts of the IT sector to talk to each other, but I'm happy to say that it's now moving along at pace and the previous sticking points have been removed. Just a reminder, back here in Chesterfield, our ED EPR is in a very wide and quite soft market test at this moment. There's a variety of reasons why it's still in soft market test. The main ones being is that we're concerned about the capability of the major IT deployers being able to actually give us the time to help us get a new system in, as a result of which we're looking quite laterally at other smaller enterprises to maybe help us. And we have another demonstration of a new sort of a system this week, which has got significant potential. Do you have to make sure that it's used well by other organisations fully functional in the NHS prior to considering it further? But the demonstration I've seen and is very impressive. If you haven't got an invite to that and you would like one, could you please let Cheryl Towndrow know, and I'm more than happy for you to join the Teams call. There's a lot of work going on end of last week and the weekend and this week about the laboratory information management system migration to Clinisys. Various evening meetings are happening at the moment to decide whether or not we can hand the system back after testing, which would then allow for deployment across both sites on the same day, the 29th of November. I've put a hopefully in there, and the reason why I've done that is that there's still a couple of clinical showstoppers that we need to iron out, and I and other colleagues will be on an evening meeting today to make that decision either this evening or tomorrow afternoon. So for the moment it is still going ahead. Of course we'll let everybody know if we have to delay, and critically how long we're delaying for. If it's only to mid-January, then that's probably reasonable. If it's further on down the line from that, then that poses problems of its own right, I'm sure you can understand. Then the work stream governance of all matters digital and data, which I've spoken to many others on the call before, has been completely revised. There is a paper going to our board of directors tomorrow, presented by myself and Jim Austin of DCHS, to explain the new future world of what good looks like and who pays for what. Part of that, and the digital implementation group is embarking upon an exercise in human resource mapping at an ICS level for both digital staff, clinical safety officer staff, and then working with the heads of IT, getting ourselves to a position where we understand the actual IM&T staff offering for us as a whole ICS prior to becoming a statutory organisation next financial year, so we can start to see where potential bottlenecks will be even before they arise. So my final slide is a relatively poor screen grab, but this gives you a rough idea about where the single point of truth for healthcare in joined up care Derbyshire will be once it's become rich enough. As you can see, this is on iOS, however it's fully mobile enabled, whether that be Mac, Microsoft or Android, and we'll be in a position where we can share the details of shared care records, secondary care records, and hopefully respect forms and the MIG dataset within the first month of proof of concept being live. Thereafter, there is a workflow to develop the wealth and richness of this as a 10-year project. And once we have that nailed down and agreed, which we currently don't, I will share that with the Royal Academy and others, so people can be aware when they will be able to see mental health, community and social care records in the wild, as it were. So that's all of my slides. Happy for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do we have any questions for John? There's none popping up, but thank you for presenting very simply what is quite a complex piece of work or multiple pieces of work. And if we can get updates as things progress back on this call, John, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Stacey.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I've not been here for quite a number of forums. I've got to talk to you, well, I'm going to talk to you just today about vaccinating, which is why I've been absent from these meetings. So the vaccination hub that we did at the Royal incorporated flu and COVID boosters this year. The team worked absolutely amazingly well. Absolutely, they were absolute superstars. The numbers of the flu vaccines, they continue to rise. So as you can see, we've got two SPC charts here to demonstrate sort of the story of the vaccinating. So if you move to the right, where it starts off with the flu vaccinations, as you can see, we started off really high. This is when we were purely doing the flu vaccines in the beginning, very much as we'd expect the vaccinations to see with the vaccination. We then started with the COVID vaccines, which showed a little bit of a dip to the current numbers that we started using, but steadied off into a really nice level. A few drops of weekends and where we were closed, predominantly due to staffing levels, but we also incorporated the COVID boosters as well. If we move over to the COVID vaccinations, now all of the numbers that we're providing here today are only the vaccinations that people received here at the Royal. They're not vaccinations that people had at GPs or community hubs. We're still trying to gather that data. So as you could see, as we'd expect, first day of COVID boosters was really quite high. Then we steadied down to sort of a really nice steady figure. The totals, which isn't really seen here, as we stand at the moment, is COVID vaccinations. We've done 2,623 of our colleagues have had boosters. Flu, again, staff's done amazing with that, and we've done 3,910. So the flu vaccinations continue to roam for a little while to try and find our staff who haven't had the opportunity to get their vaccine. As you can see, Angela's in the picture there. You'll see her round and about with Thomas the Tank Engine, and she will have consent forms with her and the flu vaccinations if you've not had a chance to get yours yet. I would really recommend that you do get your flu vaccine because they are predicting it to be a really, really nasty winter. I'd also, the admin staff and all of the staff worked absolutely amazing to make this a success, and it was just really, really a great joint effort. Charlie. Next slide. So I have been absent for a little while doing the vaccines, but now I'm back to concentrate on my day job, and it's very much a plea from you all. The best ideas are ideas that come from the people that do them. You may not know how to go about it, you may not know what to do, and that's what I'm here for. So it's just get in touch with us. I can come and see you. You can call us, you can email, you can use the QR code, you can email me directly. I'm happy to come out and meet you to discuss your ideas and how we can move that forward. So please don't hesitate to get in touch, because you may think it's a silly idea, but very often it's an extremely inspired idea. And that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stacey. We've certainly been keeping you busy with all the vaccinations, and thank you for the work you've been doing on that. And it's great to have you back in the team and being able to go out and about and chat to people around these ideas, because like you say, they're never silly. They often lead to something quite big and really impactful. Any questions for Stacey? No, thank you, Stacey. So we will move on to Carly, who can update us about the newsletter.
Hi everyone. Yeah, just to let you all know that the November version of the newsletter is available now. It's on the intranet and internet site, so anyone can get a hold of that. And from John's update earlier, I'm starting to think that we store a lot of our stuff, like the newsletters, etc., on the J Drive. So we're certainly going to be looking at the SharePoint option going forward, which will obviously impact everyone in the team. And then also we have a public drive on the J Drive that a lot of people can use. So we'll start looking at that and seeing how we can free up space on that and use the SharePoint going forward. So thanks for that prompt, John. But yeah, the newsletter's up. It's available for anyone to read, patients or any members of the public. And as always, we'd love to hear stories of anything that's going on around the trust that you want advertised or promoted on there. We talk a little bit this month about the HSJ Awards, which are happening in a couple of weeks. I think there's actually 2 or 3 areas within the trust who have been put forward for awards. So I know there's quite a strong contingent of people going to the awards show, which will be great. A good thank you for after all the tough times we've had. So good luck to our colleagues in that. But yeah, as always, do get in touch, telephone, email, or pop in if you know where we are. We'd love to hear everything that's going on from you guys. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Carly. That's really helpful, and you're absolutely right. We need to use the shared drive definitely more than we do. So moving on to the improvement training programme then, if we can have the next slide, please. So the Royal Academy of Improvement does invite every member of staff to attend the Introduction to Improvement workshop. This is not something that's only suitable for certain members of staff. This is suitable for everybody. All we ask is that you have a problem or a frustration in your area that you'd like to solve, or an improvement idea that you'd like to bring to life. And if you've got something already but you just want to give it a kickstart, absolutely bring that along as well. It's a half-day workshop in the morning and helps you to turn your improvement ideas into a reality. We give you a toolbox of things that you can use to start the piece of work. So it's a practical session, lots of opportunity to try out some of the methods and models, and we cover areas such as developing an aim, building your driver diagram, understanding who will be involved in your improvement work, designing your measures, and planning how you'll test your improvement idea. And this is really light touch stuff, but really practical, so that you can go away and take forward your idea and turn it into something deliverable. The sessions are 9 till 12:30 in the Innovation Centre. We've still got places available on the 19th of November and the 1st of December. And it's really important to say this is the only course that we run for the rest of the year that's still got places. So if you are interested, please do snap up one of those opportunities as soon as you can. The next level that we offer is QSA, which is Quality Service Improvement and Redesign. It's a 6-day programme and it covers leading improvement, project management, flick back please, Carly, I was reading. Leading improvement, project management, measurement for improvement, sustainability of improvement, engaging and understanding others, creativity and improvement, process mapping and demanding capacity. So you can see that these 6 days goes into a lot more detail than the half-day session. And I had the pleasure of welcoming cohort 8 into the QSA Academy this morning and setting them on their journey. And it's really exciting to hear the ideas that people have got and what they want to work on. And hopefully they will, in 6 sessions time, be able to bring the outcome to this virtual improvement forum for us to hear about. So people come with a project, or be it an idea or something that's already in place, learn the tools and apply them through the course. They're supported by other people who have already done the programme, but also the improvement team. And we meet them every 2 weeks to be able to keep that process going and get some progress. And then we support people in between. And then on day 6, we had it as a celebration event just to see how far people have come, where the project is, the confidence to deliver as well going forwards. And this is face-to-face in the Innovation Centre. Now, because of social distancing regulations that are still in place, we've had to reduce the cohort size to maintain the 2 metre distance, which means that 2022 is now full, which is why I was saying if you're really interested in improvement, please book yourself on to those 2 dates of the half-day improvement, because we don't have anything else available at this time for the next year. But we will on my back. Apologies, my call dropped off. So if we are able to remove the regulations of how close we can sit to people, we will share more places. So it's just a final opportunity to say, if anyone's on the call that has anything they want to share, an idea, a thought, a question, now is your time. No, moving on then. So thanking you. We may not have the December forum, just thinking about pressures in the trust at that time, but we will communicate that nearer the time. And if we do, we will see you on the 14th. And please do contact us using the next slide details. Lovely. For any questions, any queries or any support, even if you just want to ask us a really quick question, please get in contact. I'd like to thank you for joining us today and see you all soon.
Thanks, Claire.